The crimson light of the Cathar Council chamber pulsed with an uneasy rhythm, reflecting off the obsidian faces of the assembled dignitaries. Shadows danced in the high-ceilinged room, clinging to the ornate carvings that depicted millennia of Cathar triumphs and tragedies, a history now overshadowed by the looming specter of the beings they called humans. Across the vast expanse of polished stone, the delegates sat in their tiered seating, the air thick with apprehension. The silence was broken only by the rhythmic thrum of the energy shields that kept the chamber secure, a constant reminder of the volatile political climate that had brought them together. A single image, projected onto the central void screen, dominated the chamber. A starship, not of any known make, its sleek angular form a monument to an unknown civilization. It was their latest discovery, a vessel that had defied all expectation. The humans they were calling themselves. Their emergence into the galactic stage had been dramatic. Their initial contact, a series of probes, sensors, and seemingly innocuous transmissions, had quickly escalated into something far more complex, a dance of technological superiority, cryptic communications, and an unsettling disregard for established galactic protocols. Xyler, the lead diplomat for the Cathar Empire, felt the familiar prickle of anxiety at the base of his skull. He straightened his imposing form in his cushioned seat, his multiple eyes scanning the room, searching for any sign of dissent. The weight of his responsibilities pressed down on him, the fate of his people, perhaps of the entire galaxy, resting on the decisions made within these walls. The humans were a puzzle, a Gordian knot of contradictions that had defied every attempt at logical unraveling. Their technology was advanced, their understanding of the cosmos unsettlingly profound, yet their actions were often baffling, almost unpredictable. Some within the council argued for outright aggression, a preemptive strike to eliminate this unknown variable. Others, like Xyler, cautioned restraint, advocating for further observation and, if possible, diplomacy. The risk, he knew, was that humanity's unpredictability might very well be their greatest weapon, that their seeming innocuousness was a calculated strategy, a Trojan horse waiting to unleash untold destruction upon the galaxy. The latest reports from the Rimward patrols are concerning. The High Admiral of the Cathar fleet, a being whose chitinous armor gleamed with an ominous sheen, began, his voice a low, gravelly rumble that resonated through the chamber. The human vessel has shown no response to our attempts at communication. Its energy signature remains consistent, its trajectory erratic. It continues to approach Cathar space. The High Admiral's words hung in the air, each syllable laden with unspoken fear. The fleet had been watching this vessel for weeks, baffled by its resilience and by its almost unnerving silence. Every attempt to hail them had been met with the same impenetrable wall of quiet. Xyler felt the tension in the room increase. The whispers started again, traveling between the delegates, fueled by the ever-present uncertainty. A ripple of unease spread across the tiered seating. Perhaps we are overestimating their capabilities, a young counselor from the Xyler's own delegation spoke up, his voice clear and sharp. His youthful arrogance was something that Xyler had always found both infuriating and strangely endearing. Their technology appears advanced, but their actions suggest a certain immaturity. Perhaps they are merely explorers, stumbled upon our territory by accident. Surely they would not be so foolish as to provoke the might of the Cathar Empire. The young counselor's words were met with a mixture of murmurs and sideways glances. While his assessment might have had a kernel of truth, it was a dangerous sentiment to voice, and Xyler knew, if the humans did, in fact, turn out to be a threat, his young subordinate would be the first to suffer. Xyler turned to the High Admiral. "Admiral, what is the fleet's recommendation?" His voice was even, his expression carefully neutral. He knew that the council was looking to him for leadership, for a way to break through the deadlock of fear and uncertainty. The High Admiral turned to the projected image, his gaze fixed on the silent, enigmatic ship. He tapped a clawed finger against the polished surface of his armrest. "The vessel poses an unknown threat. I recommend a containment strategy. The fleet will establish a blockade, monitor their movement, and await further instructions. We shall be prepared for the worst." He turned his gaze back to the council, his multiple eyes sweeping the room. "We must also prepare for the possibility of engagement. We can no longer afford to take risks." The Admiral's words, devoid of emotion, sent a chill through Xyler. Containment, while necessary, was a gamble. Engagement, that was the path to war. The debate raged for hours, each argument and counterargument adding another layer of confusion. The counselors, representing a multitude of species and political agendas, argued over the nature of the threat, the best course of action, and the potential consequences of any decision. The room echoed with the clash of differing ideologies, the fear of the unknown a palpable presence. Xyler remained silent for most of the session, listening to the various perspectives, processing the information, searching for a path forward. He knew that the future of the Cathar Empire and possibly the galaxy itself hinged on the choices they made in these moments of crisis. It was then, as the day began to turn into night, that the unexpected happened. A soft chime, a signal originating from the human vessel, broke through the tension of the council chamber. The void screen flickered, and a single word, translated into the universal galactic language, appeared. Greetings. The chamber fell silent. Every eye was now locked on the screen, a collective gasp echoing through the room. The silence was so profound that Xyler could hear his own heart pounding in his chest. "Initiate communication," he ordered, his voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline coursing through his veins. Immediately, a Cathar interface officer initiated the designated protocol, sending a hail to the ship, requesting a direct line of communication. After what felt like an eternity, the void screen flickered once more. The image, however, was not of the human vessel. Instead, it was an image of their own fleet. It showed a single, sleek black vessel, the same design as before, but with its hull now illuminated, seemingly displaying a series of shifting patterns of light and color. They did not appear aggressive. They appeared curious. And then a voice, deep and resonant, filled the chamber, the translation crystal clear and devoid of any discernible accent. "We apologize for the delay. We were occupied." The voice was calm, measured, carrying not a hint of arrogance or hostility. The room was now filled with uncertainty. "We are the crew of the vessel designated as the Phoenix. We come in peace." Peace. The word seemed absurd in the current situation. It was a word that had been used countless times before, but it held very little meaning when spoken by an unknown entity whose actions were baffling, whose technology was unprecedented. A sense of bewilderment filled the chamber. Even the High Admiral, a being known for his ironclad stoicism, betrayed a flicker of surprise in his numerous eyes. Xyler took a deep breath, fighting down the surge of panic that threatened to overwhelm him. He knew they couldn't afford to be caught off guard. "Explain yourselves," he demanded, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "What is your purpose?" The void screen flickered again, and a new image appeared, a projection of a human figure. It was a humanoid being, clad in a sleek uniform, its features familiar. The voice, the same as before, resumed, "Our purpose is simple. We come to share." The figure on the screen turned its head, and for a moment Xyler thought he saw a hint of amusement, of knowing. "We have observed your civilization for some time. We know of your history, your strengths, your weaknesses." The words, uttered with unsettling clarity, sent a chill down Xyler's spine. The implications were immense. "Share," the High Admiral spoke, his voice heavy with suspicion. "Share what? Your intentions, your technology, or your dominance?" The human on the screen tilted its head, a gesture that in its own way seemed to mirror the Cathar understanding of inquiry. "We offer no dominance. We offer knowledge. We offer the means to evolve." The human's words felt like a riddle. The council began to murmur amongst themselves, their confusion palpable. "How can we trust you?" Xyler asked, his voice strained. "You have appeared without warning, possessing technology far beyond our current capabilities. What guarantees do we have that you are not a threat?" The human figure on the screen smiled, and the gesture, while odd, seemed genuine. "Trust, Counselor, is earned. We understand your skepticism. It is expected." The void screen then changed once again. The image displayed a complex schematic, a series of interconnected diagrams and symbols that Xyler knew was something beyond anything the Cathar had ever produced. "We offer you the secrets of interstellar travel, of energy generation, of defense. We offer you the tools to overcome the challenges you currently face." The display then went on to show diagrams of advanced propulsion systems, designs that seemed to defy the known laws of physics. They also displayed detailed schematics of energy shields and weapon systems that were far beyond the capabilities of the Cathar. The display was almost overwhelming. The High Admiral was the first to break the silence. This is impossible," he stated, the shock clear in his voice. "This technology defies known physics. This is—" His words trailed off, lost in the incomprehensible complexity of the displayed schematics. "Why?" Xyler asked, searching for a deeper motivation. "Why would they offer such a gift? There must be a catch, a hidden agenda, a price to pay that would ultimately lead to their downfall." The human figure on the screen again tilted its head. "Because we believe in the potential of all species. We have seen your struggles, your triumphs, your capacity for greatness. We believe you deserve better. We have seen the darkness of the galaxy, and we have sworn to oppose it. You do not have to fight alone." The words were so simple, so unexpected, that they hung in the air, a promise that seemed too good to be true. The silence in the council chamber was broken by an almost imperceptible murmur, a blend of doubt, hope, and disbelief. Zyler looked around at the faces of his colleagues, searching for any sign of understanding, of a shared response. The counselors were caught between fear and wonder, unsure of how to process the information they had been presented with. The human vessel had done the impossible. It had opened a door to the stars, but it had also thrown the council into disarray. "If you truly come in peace," the High Admiral finally stated, his voice now quieter, more thoughtful, "then why the secrecy, why the initial silence and the baffling trajectory?" The figure on the screen gave a soft smile. "We are not, as you might have assumed, a single entity. The ship, the Phoenix, that you have discovered is not our primary vessel." The screen changed yet again, and another image appeared. It showed a map of the galaxy, crisscrossed with lines of light that represented star systems and travel routes. "We are not merely explorers. We are a network spread across this galaxy, hidden within your borders for many millennia. We operate within your shadows, unnoticed, unseen. Our ships are many. We have been watching, observing, waiting for the right moment. The Phoenix has been tasked to make first contact, its mission to initiate the Great Awakening." The figure on the screen then pointed to a single star system on the map. "Your system, Cathar, we have a great deal of information on it. We know of your strengths and weaknesses. We have studied your histories. We understand your internal conflicts, your alliances, and your ambitions. The offer we extend to you is not simply technology. It is a partnership, a way to build a better future, a bulwark against the darkness that threatens to consume the galaxy." The words struck with a new level of emotional weight. The human on the screen continued. "For too long, the galaxy has been ruled by fear and by stagnation. You, the Cathar Empire, are caught in a cycle of suspicion and conflict, as are many others. We offer an alternative." It paused for a moment as if collecting its thoughts. "We offer unity." The word hung in the air, a promise, a challenge. Zyler knew that they were facing a pivotal moment, a turning point in their history. The council was at a crossroads. They could continue down the path of fear, of isolation, of war. Or they could embrace the unknown, trust in the humans, and step into a new era of cooperation and understanding. The humans' words had brought a new, complex level of emotion to the council chamber. The discussion once again broke out into a tumultuous cacophony. The High Admiral and the counselors from the other empires began to debate the offer. Some were skeptical, arguing that the humans were attempting to exploit them. Others were hopeful, seeing the potential for growth and collaboration. Zyler, still reeling from the revelation, remained focused on the screen, on the figure that represented humanity. He looked at the face of the human. It was not a face of malice, of deception. It was a face of hope, a face of possibility. "What will you require in return?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "What is the price of this unity?" The figure on the screen turned, its gaze directly locked to his. Its expression held a subtle smile. "Your trust, counselor, your willingness to work together." Human then explained their purpose. They wanted to build a galactic network of interconnected civilizations, to build a defense against a greater threat. "The galaxy is not as empty as you believe. Beyond the boundaries of your known territories, there are threats, ancient evils that are ready to emerge." The image on the screen showed a series of strange symbols that were entirely incomprehensible to Zyler and the rest of the council. "We believe the time has come to prepare for it. We offer you the tools. We offer you protection. We offer you a future." The screen then went dark. The silence in the council chamber was complete, the only sound the gentle hum of the energy shields. Zyler finally spoke. "The council must vote." The vote was close, but the council finally decided. The human offer was to be accepted. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices. The humans had won. Zyler stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. "Initiate the exchange," he ordered. The void screen flickered, and the image of the human vessel reappeared. "Very well," the human voice said. "Let the new age begin." The first step in this new era of cooperation would be the arrival of the humans, whose ship, the Phoenix, would enter the Cathar system. A diplomatic mission would be arranged to determine how their alliance would take shape. As the humans descended, the Cathar prepared for their arrival. They prepared the designated landing zone, a place of honor within the capital city. They prepared the welcome committee, a mix of dignitaries and scientists, eager to meet the beings who promised to reshape their galaxy. The council watched as the human vessel approached their planet. The ship entered the atmosphere, its sleek black hull reflecting the light of the binary suns. The silence was broken by the sound of cheering from the gathered crowds. Zyler, standing with the rest of the council, felt a surge of pride and hope. The ship gently touched down, the silence punctuated by the hiss of the engines as they powered down. The ramp lowered, and the first of the humans emerged. They were different than the projections suggested, tall, slender beings with pale skin and large, intelligent eyes. They moved with a grace that surprised the Cathar. They were also unarmed. They carried no weapons, no shields. As they approached, Xyler noticed something else. Their eyes held not fear or aggression, but curiosity and understanding. "Greetings," the first of the humans said, its voice warm and friendly. "We are honored to be here." It was a woman, her face framed by dark hair. She stepped forward, extending a hand in a gesture of peace. The crowd reacted with a mix of awe and astonishment. The humans, it turned out, were far more than the Cathar had imagined. They were something new, something extraordinary. The diplomats, scientists, and warriors of the Cathar Empire met with the humans to begin to develop a treaty. The human diplomat, known as Alara, listened patiently to the demands and concerns of the Cathar. She answered every question with clarity and precision, explaining their technology, their intentions, and their vision for the future. She spoke of a galaxy united, of a shared destiny, of a fight against the darkness that threatened them all. They exchanged knowledge, sharing technology, resources, and cultural insights. The humans were far more than they appeared, they explained to the council. They were a civilization that was old, but young at the same time. They held a knowledge of the universe that the Cathar could not even dream of. They had mastered many technologies, including warp drives, advanced energy weapons, and faster-than-light communication. Days turned into weeks, and the humans, along with the Cathar, built a partnership that would reshape the fate of the galaxy. They began to share technology, providing the Cathar with the means to defend themselves and to explore the vast reaches of space. They worked together on various projects, from building new warships to developing new forms of energy. Their alliance was growing stronger with each passing day. The Council became more confident in their alliance. The humans were not what they had expected. They were calm, logical, and ethical. They showed the Cathar Empire how to become better. Then a breakthrough. The humans revealed a technology that had been hidden from the rest of the galaxy for untold eons, a technology that would change everything. The humans led the Cathar scientists to a hidden chamber deep within the human vessel. They showed them the device, a complex machine that harnessed the power of the stars. It was a weapon of incredible power, capable of obliterating entire planets. "We call it the Stellaris Core," Alara explained, her voice solemn. "It is a key to unlocking the power of the cosmos. This weapon can create as easily as it can destroy." The Cathar scientists gasped as the humans powered up the machine. The room was filled with the energy of the stars, their eyes wide in wonder. The Stellaris Core was beyond anything the Cathar had ever seen. "It is our responsibility to safeguard this technology," Alara said. "We must use it for the good of the galaxy." Xyler, standing beside Alara, felt a surge of pride in the human race. They had shown the Cathar Empire their technology, their knowledge, and their trust. They had proven that they were worthy allies. The Cathar, in turn, learned to trust them. The Cathar were no longer alone. The humans and the Cathar were united. Their alliance would change the fate of the galaxy. The humans then took the Cathar fleet on a tour of the star system, demonstrating the effectiveness of the Stellaris Core. They showed them how to harness the energy of the stars. They showed them how to travel faster than light. They also showed them how to destroy anything that stood in their path. The Cathar fleet was left in awe. The humans had unlocked the power of deities. As the humans and Cathar continued to share their technologies and build their partnership, something changed. The humans began to act strangely. They became more distant, more reserved. Their smiles were fewer, their conversations shorter. Xyler and the others noticed the change but did not know what to make of it. One day, Alara called Xyler to a private meeting. She looked more serious than usual, her eyes filled with a sadness he did not understand. "We have something to tell you," she said. "We haven't been entirely truthful with you." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. "We are not who we seem," she said, her voice filled with regret. "We are not the benevolent benefactors you have come to believe. Our past, our intentions are more complex than we have revealed. We are not human." Xyler's heart froze, a wave of confusion washing over him. The words came as a punch to the gut, a betrayal that he never anticipated. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Alara took a deep breath. "We are the remnants of an ancient civilization, older than any other in the galaxy. We call ourselves the Architects." She paused, as if gathering her strength. "We were once masters of the cosmos, rulers of the stars. We built empires, forged alliances, and shaped the fate of countless civilizations, but we failed." The word hung in the air, a testament to a bygone era. We made a mistake, a critical error that led to our downfall. She looked down as if ashamed. We destroyed ourselves. We almost destroyed the galaxy. Xyler's mind reeled. He did not know how to process this new information. The humans were not human. The architects, this was a truth he could not grasp. What are you saying? He asked, his voice shaking. What is your real purpose? Alara looked up, her gaze steady. We are here to atone. We failed once, but we will not fail again. We have been watching the galaxy for centuries, observing your civilizations. We have been waiting for the right moment to act. We have watched you and your kind, and we have determined that you are capable of saving the galaxy. Xyler looked at her, his eyes narrowed. How can we trust you? The architects, with all of their past, with all of their power, how could they trust them? How could they work together? We understand your skepticism, Alara said, her voice filled with compassion. We have done terrible things in the past, but we have learned from our mistakes. We are no longer the same beings we once were. We seek only to help. She paused, then took a step towards Xyler. We have a plan. We know how to defeat the darkness that threatens the galaxy, but we cannot do it alone. The screen behind them flickered and a new image appeared, a vast expanse of space, filled with swirling nebulae and distant galaxies. In the center, a dark spot, a cosmic anomaly that seemed to suck in the light. This is the source of the threat, the void. It is a force of pure destruction, a force that consumes all in its path. The Cathar scientists gasped, their faces filled with a mixture of fear and wonder. The void was an ancient evil, a cosmic entity that threatened to engulf the galaxy. We have studied it for centuries, Alara continued. We know its weaknesses, we know how to defeat it, but we need your help. We need your ships, your soldiers, your technology. We need your trust. The words echoed in the chambers. Trust. A word that had been so central to their partnership now felt like a fragile thing. The architects were asking for their trust, but how could they possibly give it? Why us? Xyler asked, searching for a way forward. Alara sighed. Because you are different. You are strong, but you are not arrogant. You are courageous, but you are not reckless. You are a civilization that has faced adversity and overcome it. You have learned the importance of unity. She paused, as if gathering her strength. You are the only hope the galaxy has. Xyler knew that they were facing a pivotal moment, a turning point in their history. The council was at a crossroads. They could continue down the path of fear, of suspicion, or they could embrace the unknown, trust in the architects, and step into a new era of cooperation and understanding. The architects' words had brought a new, complex level of emotion to the council chamber. The question of whether or not to trust the architects was no longer simple. It was more complicated than that. But they had no choice. If they failed to trust the architects, there would be no hope. The future of the galaxy depended on their decision. He turned back to the council, and it was decided. They would trust the architects. They would fight against the darkness. They would work together. The war began with an attack. The void began to consume the stars, planets were swallowed whole, and civilizations crumbled before the overwhelming power of the void. The architects, the humans, and the Cathar were now in a desperate struggle to survive. They fought alongside each other in the front lines, their ships battling against the void's forces. The Cathar's fleet, bolstered by the technology of the architects, fought with a ferocity they had never known before. The fight against the void raged for what seemed like an eternity. The architects, the humans, and the Cathar struggled to keep the galaxy together, to keep the peace. The void's forces were too powerful, their numbers too vast. The stars were falling, one by one. Hope was fading. Xyler, standing on the bridge of his flagship, watched as the stars began to dim. The void was closing in. He could feel the despair and the fear emanating from the remaining Cathar ships. They were running out of time, they were losing the fight. What do we do? The admiral asked. Xyler turned to Alara. She was standing at his side, her face pale, her eyes filled with sorrow. She looked tired, but she held herself with a strength that he admired. We have one last chance, she said. The Stellaris core. It is the key, but we must use it at the cost of the sacrifice of our own fleet. Xyler nodded, his heart breaking. The Stellaris core had the power to stop the void, but its use would come with a high price. The price was their own destruction. Xyler looked around at the crew of the flagship, their faces etched with a mixture of determination and fear. He knew what they had to do. The Cathar would make the ultimate sacrifice. They would unleash the Stellaris core. They would unleash the power of the stars. Prepare the Stellaris core, Xyler ordered. Prepare for deployment. The crew of the flagship began to carry out his orders, working with a speed and precision born of training. The Stellaris core was activated. The ship began to shake. The void was getting closer. The admiral turned to Xyler, his face drawn. Are you sure about this, counselor? Xyler nodded. There is no other way, he said. We must be willing to sacrifice ourselves for the good of the galaxy. He looked at Alara, whose face was a mask of sadness. He gave her a nod. Alara nodded back. "I will stay with you," she said. "We will face this together." Xyler smiled, feeling a moment of peace. The time had come. The fleet began its final act. Xyler gave the order. The Stellaris core fired. The ship was bathed in light. The energy of the stars was unleashed. In that moment of blinding brilliance, the void was pushed back. The destruction of the flagship was complete, but it had saved the galaxy. The sacrifice of the humans and the Cathar was not in vain. The void was retreating. The galaxy was saved. The galaxy, however, did not remain empty. A new order emerged. The humans, the architects, had vanished. The Cathar became the guardians of the galaxy. They began to rebuild. They forged new alliances. They built new relationships. They built new technologies. They also built new memories of the sacrifice the humans made. They never forgot the humans, and they never forgot the sacrifice they made. They had left behind only one message, carved into the wreckage of the Phoenix. A message that served as a reminder of the power of unity, the strength of sacrifice, and the boundless potential of the human spirit. The message read, "We are all stars now." The message was a profound statement about the end of the architect civilization, a message about the new beginning of the galaxy. Years passed. The galaxy healed. The Cathar Empire, once a collection of warring factions, became a beacon of peace and prosperity. New technologies emerged, new species were discovered, and the galaxy continued its ever-evolving journey. As the generations came and went, the memory of the architects became a legend, a myth, a reminder of the sacrifice that had been made. But then, one day, a new signal arrived, a signal from beyond the known galaxies, a signal of hope. The signal was a message sent long ago, a message of the true origins of the architects. The message was sent by a fleet of ships carrying the flag of the ancient architects and the humans, the last of them. They had not died. They had evolved. They came back as the deities of power. The signal was the first step in a new chapter, a promise of a new era. The galaxy would never forget the sacrifice that had been made or the promise of the future that awaited them. The Cathar, in their turn, prepared to meet this new challenge, to embrace the unknown, to usher in a new era of cooperation and understanding. The Cathar knew what they must do. They would meet their destiny. They would usher in a new era together. They knew that the future was uncertain, but they also knew that they were ready to embrace it.